This is the door to my new workshop, but right now it's just a door frame to my new workshop. So today I'm hanging a door. But before I get started, I just want to mention one thing. This workshop is not livable space. The way I'm about to hang the door is the way I think will work the best. Therefore, if I'm doing things that are not to code, it's not a problem because, as I say, this is not considered livable space. So this is just my interpretation of the best way that I know how to hang a door. Yesterday I went out to the hardware store and got a whole stack of 2x4s. That's not what they are. Yesterday I went out to the hardware store and got a whole stack of 70mm by 35mm treated pine, and this is going to make up the frame of the door. As you can see, the wall is concrete block and the builders left enough space for a 920mm wide door. The next thing is for me to attach a piece of 70 by 35mm treated pine to this wall. I've marked hole locations all along the timber, and these are going to be where the timber bolts into the concrete. So I've got two small holes at either end, and these will be to stop the board from twisting, although I don't think it will. And then in the center, these are going to be the two bigger bolts, and these are going to be the real strength. These are the bolts that I'm going to be using to anchor the timber to the wall. Here in Australia, they're called Dyna bolts, but I think that's a brand name. They're also called expanding bolts. And the way they work is you drill a hole through the timber and into the concrete. You slide this bolt in and you start turning. In this case, it's got a screw head, but they sometimes have a nut. And as you turn, it pulls this piece on the end in. And as you keep turning, this sort of sheath expands and that grips into the concrete. So then you can't slide this out of the hole in the concrete because this is expanded, and they are incredibly strong. So the first job is to pre-drill all of the holes in the timber. This is a hammer drill, and you need this back and forth hammering action to get through concrete. All I've done there is make a mark so I can drill that hole, get the first bolt in. Once that's in, then I'll make sure the timber's plumb. Here's a little trick that I learned. There's a lot of dust in that hole, and that is going to ruin your day, because the bolt's going to go in, plug up all that dust and get stuck before it's gone all the way through. So you can either take an air compressor, or in my case a bicycle pump, and just blast all of that dust out. Alright, good to go. And now with any luck, I should be able to tap this Dyna bolt through. The reason I say with any luck is because these things notoriously bind on their way in and then they're stuffed. If you're lucky, you can get it out. If not, you just got to drill another hole. So just cross fingers, otherwise I'm going to be swearing off camera. Something that I forgot to mention that I want to do first, before pushing it all the way in, is to add some cork all the way down behind this timber. The idea is that everything in this room needs to be as soundproof as possible, so just adding the seal will make sure that there's no gaps between the timber and the concrete. See here. Alright, now we can push it in. Now I can go ahead and drill the rest of the holes. I'll start with the bottom one to make sure that it stays plumb, and then I can just go along with the hammer drill and drill out the rest of them. Alright, so the frames are in, and as expected, a couple of the Dyna bolts didn't work out so well. So it's turned into a bit of a mishmash of bolts. I'm not complaining, there's just a couple more in than need to be, but that just means that it's going to be stronger than I'd expected, is the way I'm going to put it. But that's all right. As I say, it's all good. It just means that it's going to be a bit stronger. Took a little bit longer than I expected, but now we get to move on to the threshold. With every door, you have what's called a threshold, and that's where the inside space meets the outside space. There's obviously a way to do this, and there's a way not to do this. In my case though, I have a bit of a messy situation with the threshold, because over here is the foundation for this wall. This is the existing slab, so I'm gonna have to sort of fabricate something. What I'm gonna do is take a couple of these sleepers. You guys haven't seen a pencil, have you? I'll put one on top of the other. I'll then cut a notch so that it slots around the frame, and then I'm gonna have to plane it so that I can get this level, because the door is gonna need to sit level against this. This floor is not level. Okay, some cutting and smashing later. I think it's about ready to go. So I've got some construction adhesive, and I'm just gonna blob this down. Now, as the construction adhesive dries, this will hold its position. Because the foundation is level, this is level, which is cool. I might need to make a minor adjustment on the next piece. But now I'm going to grab another one of these, notch out again, slip that on top, and then that will bring it, one sec. That's going to put me 50 mil up, which is a tiny bit, it's probably about 20 mil here, but that's perfect, because what I've done now is I've created a threshold that's not going to let the water in, and I'm going to have a level surface for the door to close over. Now to attach this piece to the bottom piece, all I'm going to do is drive in a few nails. This means that if I ever want to change this threshold for something else, something better, something new, whatever, instead of having to look for the screws and undo it, I can just stick something in and pry it off. And ultimately, there's not going to be any real issue with this coming off, because you're only ever stepping down on it, and it can't move side to side because it's locked in to the frame. So a couple nails, and that'll be it. Alright, and now when I get around to painting this, I'll just fill those holes, give it a good coat of paint, and you won't even know they were there. For the top of the door, this is going to be the header, and what I might do later is come in from underneath and screw another one along the top to just make it a bit more solid so it doesn't droop or sag. I don't think it's going to, but I know that's how they would do it when you are building proper. Time for the number one, most absolute, definitive, important question of it all. Is it square? Look right on that side. Okay, so we're probably about a millimeter, maybe 2 on that side. Side looks good. And that's a millimeter at most. Well, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Let's go with the diagonal. 2270. 2270. Well, I've created a square frame.